Today we're doing another long-term review, and this time it's on the Fenix ShadowMaster Head Torch. Now, I first done a video on this, it was either a year ago or 2 years ago. After COVID, time has just gone out the window. But I have been using this for at least a year, so I think it's a fair amount of time to be able to give a decent review on this. And the main thing that came from the video when we first done it was just how bright it was. Now, this is rated up to 1200 lumens, and to put that into some form of context, it's basically brighter than a car headlight. So yes, it's very bright, but it was also a very expensive head torch, and they retail at around £100. So it's one of the more expensive on the market. And this is basically because they're made more for the mountaineering trade than they are the fishing industry. But they still are obviously very useful in the fishing industry. And like I say, I've actually been using this as my kind of go-to head torch over the past year or two, depending when, since I'd done the last video, basically. So are they worth the money? How do they stand up long term? Yes, they are expensive, but like I say, where they've been built for the mountaineering industry, they have been well built. So everything's like a nice solid metal, everything's hard wearing, everything still works how it did. I haven't had to replace batteries, they're rechargeable, but they haven't started wearing out or anything like that. And they're actually USB-C rechargeable, so you don't have to worry about taking extra cables with you. Generally, or for me, it's the same charger as my phone. Everything uses USB-C now. So like I say, you don't have to worry about separate cables for separate items. As long as you've got a USB-C cable in your car or in your kit, then you're going to be able to charge this on the bank. But to be honest, the battery life has been really good. I think over the year, I've probably only charged it a handful of times. So it does last a decent amount of time. Now, one thing that was stated originally was that there was no, basically when the batteries got low, you could still use the full output. But since using this long term, that's not quite the case. So I have noticed if the battery starts dropping, then the full beam mode, if you're using it, would actually dim. So you notice at night, obviously, if you've got the full beam mode on, you notice it actually dims down to a lower setting. But originally it was stated that didn't do that. You could use the highest setting until the battery ran out. But I have since seen on the marketing for Fenix that the wording has been changed slightly. So I guess the intention when it was first built was that you could use it that way, but after long-term testing from, I guess, a few customers, it's actually been pointed out that it doesn't quite work that way. But that's not a biggie. You still get loads of time on the full beam, and to be honest, you wouldn't want that full beam on for that long anyway. Now, another thing that I have noticed is when you are using the full beam, it gets very hot. The actual head torch itself gets very hot, so you need to be careful once you've used it on the highest setting where you put it when you take it off, because it will burn your hands. I have actually burnt a hole in a coat as well previously because I didn't realise quite how hot it got. Now, it does say on the front, hot, but yeah, sometimes you don't really think too much into it until something happens. So yeah, it's worth pointing that out. But the full beam is very good, and I wouldn't necessarily use it if I'm just baiting up or something like that, but it is very good for lamping. So if you're walking around, if you've got a quiet lake, walking around looking for fish, obviously having that really bright beam does really help to see things. Now, the downside to it, there's not a narrow beam, which to some that might not be a big deal, but if you are baiting up, if you're using the pole at night or something like that, it can be annoying just having a wide beam, because you need to use a brighter light to see where you want to see. I think that makes sense. So yeah, that's a bit of a downside that it doesn't have a narrow beam, but like I say, the full beam is so bright, you just end up lighting everything up instead. So yeah, it's one of them that is great to have a nice bright light like that. But if you're on a lake and there's a few people, you don't want to be upsetting people. And then if you dim it down to a lower setting where you don't have that narrow beam, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to see things. So it's worth bearing that in mind. But overall, it is a good head torch. It's, like I say, it's well built. Mine's taken a bit of a battering, but it's still working. I haven't had any issues with the lights not working or anything like that. It's nice to have quite a bright red beam as well. So sometimes that really comes into its own. It's comfortable. all the straps and everything are really hard wearing, so there's next to no wear and tear on it. So it's a sort of head torch that will last you for a good few years if you're happy to put up with the limitations. So there you go, that is a long-term review on the Fenix ShadowMaster Head Torch. Hopefully it's useful to you. If you do like it, make sure you subscribe to us. If you want to see more of these long-term reviews, then make sure you subscribe to CARPology on YouTube and follow us on our various social media channels as well. If you want more information about head torches, then go over to the Fenix website. There's a whole host of different head torches. It's not just this one, because like I say, that is predominantly what they sell. They are a head torch company. So if you're wanting the best of the best, then you've got to pay for it. And even with its limitations, I'm still happy with it and I'm still going to be using it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.